How's it going, guys? My name is Franker and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going through 5 things that I learned in 2024. Now 2024 is quickly coming to a close, so I thought we'd just take a look back and sort of just, it's always a good time for reflection to just sort of see how did I do, how did I perform in 2024, what can I learn from it. Now it's one of those years where it was a pretty good year if you're investing in the markets. You only have to look at, since January last year, we are up quite significantly. So one of those years where most people probably aren't learning a lot. They're just in the market, riding the trend, making money, right? But, it is always good to have some reflection, see what you could have done better, because there's always some opportunity costs and things like that. So that's what we're going to be going through in this video. But of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We are pushing for 900 by the end of the year. We are currently sitting at 839. So thank you all to the new people that have joined. And if you have any questions, anything, feel free to comment down below. We have referral codes in the description if you are looking for some different exchanges to sign up to, free Bitcoin, free cryptocurrency if you do sign up using the referral code. Terms and conditions apply. So feel free to use those in the description below, but let's just jump straight into things. Now, the first thing I want to touch on is just last year's video, right? We'll quickly throw last year's, what I learned in 2023. 2023 was, a different year, but also obviously it was a different year. But in terms of, what sort of happened in the market, you go back to January 2023 and you go to the end of 2023, it was another remarkable year to be investing in the market. So it's same thing again, probably one of those years where most people aren't learning a lot. But the 5 things that I said I learned, this is just a bit of reflection time. I guess for me personally, but the 3 things that I learned in the 5 things, sorry, that I learned in 2023 was that Bitcoin is better than alts, especially early in the cycle. Don't invest for rewards. So, tokens that offer yield, things like that. Don't buy those just for the yield. Timing over price targets. So that is something, we look at obviously on this screen. Our 4-year cycle, we follow price targets quite a bit. Being more greedy at the bottom, obviously that was a pretty big reflection thing when you're looking back at 2022, what you could have done better. Was probably just buy more when the price is down significantly. Not really applicable to 2024. And the other one was inverse sentiment. So I really sort of honed in on, what I learned in 2023 was, what I learned in 2023. So God, it's so confusing. We're going, all these different years, but it was just inverse sentiment, right? Sentiment's the worst at the bottom and it's the best at the top. So trying to sort of flip that on its head, to buy at the bottom, sell at the top, was sort of what I was looking at. But let's just jump straight into, or I guess I should quickly cover, did I follow these things? You'll find out I didn't follow my things quite as well as I could have. So let's just jump straight into what I learned in 2024. And first and foremost, it is that Bitcoin is still better than altcoins. So I know that was obviously in last year's video, but the matter of fact is that, if we have a look back, I said, Bitcoin is better than altcoins, which was the case, for 2023, and it was still the case. Here is January 1st, 2024, and you can see that Bitcoin is still king. So I guess, I didn't even follow my own advice necessarily. I sort of fumbled the bag early in the cycle. I was way too bullish on altcoins too early, and I was still too bullish on altcoins too early. In 2024, basically, I've got too much, Bitcoin outperformed everything just about, and I should have just honed in, held more Bitcoin. Obviously the last few weeks, because it's a weekly chart, the last 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, it's been a bit of a different story. Altcoins have been performing well, but the thing really is that, during this whole blue part, even early in the green part of the cycle, it's really just a Bitcoin season. I've really got to make sure I learn from this going forward. So I guess my goal in the next cycle would just be to just buy Bitcoin early on. Not really even look into altcoins for at least, the first 2 years, maybe even 2.5 years of the cycle. But that's all in retrospect. That's the thing you got to learn from these. And basically what I learned, again in 2024 is that Bitcoin is king. The other thing I learned was to, I guess, try and take some profits, especially on altcoins. So here's a Matic chart. Now I was buying Matic. I take this off this. Basically, October, I think, 2022 through to about August 23, about there, give or take. Now obviously, so my average buying cost was somewhere around here, around that sort of 60, 70, 80 cents, whatever it might be. And the thing is that I was up pretty substantially in Matic at this point in time and at this point in time, and I didn't take any profits. And I actually ended up, obviously you can see, going quite negative on the position. I didn't sell. I lost. I ended up actually selling towards the bottom, like in and around here. I said, that's it for me. I'm going to put my money elsewhere where, money's actually being made. Assets such as Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin's obviously been performing a lot better than Matic. But I guess the thing is that with these sort of short-term riskier positions like Matic, the reason I didn't sell is because I was thinking, oh, it's, we're only 2023. According to the cycle, we've still got about, 2 years worth of upside potential. But when it comes to altcoins, they just don't follow necessarily the same cycle. Sure, it might pump up later in 2025 and make some really good gains. But for that interim, I should have just been taking some profits whilst we were up. I was up over 100% at some points, and instead I ended up riding it the whole way down. Ended up selling for a loss and moving it into more, I guess, productive assets. So pulled me a fool. That's fair enough. But ultimately, all I can do is learn from this. Is that altcoins, they're not long-term positions to be holding, and this sort of theme will come back in later with another point. But I should have just been taking some profits when things were going well, because clearly, altcoins, they just don't perform as well typically. The same goes for Bitcoin, not necessarily right now, but if, I guess you could say right now, right? We're at 100,000, and, there's some people that are, taking profits that I've seen. And whilst, I might personally disagree with that right now, you can't hate that sort of strategy, right? We're talking about when things are going good, just take some chips off the table. Essentially, I've got some price targets. You can see 102, 132, 160, 190. They're not necessarily where I'm going to sell. They're just some price targets that we're looking at. But we, as we said last year, look at more at timing in the market than price. But you still have to be aware of price. And when things are doing really well, and this is going to happen for Bitcoin. When Bitcoin is doing really well, you're going to want to sell, or you're not going to want to sell, but you should sell. And that's something that, I definitely learned with Matic. I'm going to be taking forward with the rest of my coins that I hold, Bitcoin as well. Start taking some profits pretty soon, and, hopefully continue that forward for the rest of my trading career, essentially. Now, the next thing is going to be more conservative. This is something that we touched on in this video here, 5 tips for new crypto investors. One of those things was just to be conservative with your takes, what you think is going to happen. And we touched on it. This is pretty well going to be exactly what we said in that last video, but we had some targets for 2024. We pretty well said that 2024 won't be as good as 2023, because you can see, just according to our cycle, yes, we're going to break a new all-time high later in the year, but even then we're only looking at 60% gains until we can look at starting to break out. Now, yes, we broke out and we immediately pumped to 100k. Now, I wasn't expecting that, obviously, right? I was saying, we look back at January and we're saying, okay, next year is going to be good in the sense, 60% returns in 1 year is still fantastic. But it's not going to be like 2023, in terms of just, percentage gains. If we have a look at price ranges, let's put the magnet on. If we just look at price ranges, 150, 160%, give or take. And we were sort of talking about this here, around that prior all-time high, 50, 60% gains. We weren't expecting it to pump immediately to 100k and give us, good returns. But that's not a bad thing, right? It's more of a, setting up your mental, in saying, okay, next year, we might just expect some 50% returns, whatever it might be. And then worst case scenario, we make more money. That's all that happened, right? I got this called wrong. Yes, 2023 or 2024, sorry, was as good as 2023. And all that happened was the price performed better. We make more money, right? So it's not a bad thing at all. If you're just conservative with your price targets, you can sort of set yourself up better mentally. And we're going to see that again coming into later in the cycle. You're going to have people who are saying, if we can just, sell at 250k. I'm going to wait for 250k, and I'm going to sell. You know, that's all well and good. If we do hit 250k, right, that's fantastic, well done. But if you just set some more conservative targets, you know, say the price does this, you know, and you just say I'm going to sell it. You know, say you use these price targets. Say you say I'm going to sell at 102, 132, 160, 190. You know, you can see sort of like boom, boom, boom. Okay, you set some conservative price targets. Okay, you're taking some profits the whole way up. You know, you don't hit this final one. Maybe you sell on the breakdown of one of these. You know, you sell again here, or you sell again here, whatever it might be. But if you have unrealistic expectations of 250k, then you're not, you know, you're not gonna take any profits. You're gonna ride the thing the whole way down. But if you just have conservative price targets, it doesn't even have to be like these figures in particular. I'm just pulling these out of the air. You know, you take your profits and you can leave the market happily, essentially. Yes, you're not going to take the maximum, but nobody is, right? So just be conservative. Same thing again, you know, here, if you just, you know, if you have a look back at this time period, because we had these sort of, you know, conservative time frames around this breakout in November, you know, this whole pullback for us was a lot easier because we'd already mentally prepared for it. It was easier to stomach, essentially, you know, whereas people who are saying, you know, 100k by 2020, you know, 100k by, you know, 2024, even though it did happen during this period, that's a lot harder for those people who have got those outlandish figures in their head. Whereas if you were someone like me who was just sort of saying, yeah, things won't be as good as next year, but, you know, we'll have a good year after that or whatever it might be, you know, you can stomach these moves a lot easier. So it's more just a mental thing, in my opinion, but just try to be more conservative with your targets and just, you know, don't be outlandish, essentially. My next thing is that essentially less is more, and this is where we come back into Matic. So when it comes to investing in, or what we want to invest in, I've found it too difficult to follow too many tokens. Admittedly, I'm pretty, you know, like I don't spend a lot of time doing research or analysis or things like that. I sort of just jump on maybe once a day, sometimes even, you know, like once a week, and do some more technical analysis because I'm a long-term investor. You know, I'm not really looking at the day-to-day movement, you know, too in depth. You know, and what I found was like this year, it was too hard to track a lot of different altcoins. Matic being one of those. You know, I guess you could say part of the reason I didn't sell at these tops, you know, maybe it was greed, whatever it might be. Maybe I wasn't being conservative enough. That's the thing, right? Maybe I was being outlandish, waiting for that big mega pump, you know, just for it to keep riding up when I should have just been conservative. You know, if we're taking it back to some other points, when you know, I think in reality was you know, I was trying to follow too many tokens at once, and I sort of just, there were a lot of tokens that I wasn't following close enough. So I think it's a lot easier, you know, if you just pick out 2 or 3 that you follow, even if they're not the best performing assets, you know, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, obviously I follow quite closely and I invest in. But if then outside of that, if you just pick another 1, 2, 3, however much you can handle, me personally, it's 2 or 3 max. I don't like following, you know, 10 or 20 different altcoins, you know, even if they don't perform as well, you know, as some other tokens that you could be following. If you just pick a few, follow them really closely, buy at the right times, sell at the right times, your rewards are going to be better. You know, one example for me, I'll just quickly pull it up. One of these tokens for me was CRO. You can see by all the lines and shit going on this chart, it makes a lot of sense to me because this is a token that I follow very closely. And obviously, you know, from October 22 to, you know, I guess the year later, whatever it might be, you know, it was a terrible performing asset compared to Matic, right? We're talking about Matic, how, you know, I started buying in October around here, and then, you know, I stopped buying around August. You know, Matic was you know, in some regard, in the sense at least, you know, the price that went up, it was a better performing asset than CRO. But because I wasn't really paying attention to Matic, I didn't take profits where I should have. I didn't buy the lows where I could have, you know, because as I said, I wasn't paying enough attention to it. I didn't get the most out of the asset, even though it performed better, technically, even though there was more potential returns. But because I was paying a lot of attention to CRO, and I was, you know, you can see this analysis, it's all on the Twitter, which we'll jump to later. Or we can just show it now, but, you know, it's all on the Twitter. You can see we've been following, you know, if we go back ages and ages and ages, you can see that we've been following CRO for a long time, like November 23. There were some even before this. But that was a big breakout candle, November 23, right? We broke out of this black line. That's what we're looking at on that on that post, is that black line. The point of the story is, because this is a token that I was very focused on. It wasn't the best returning asset, during all this period of time, but because I was very honed in on it, because I bought these lows, my return has been significant, right? Whereas an asset like Matic, which session disconnected, or any other token that I was half paying attention to, not really following the charts, I didn't get the returns that I was looking for. So I think less is more. Even if the assets that you pick out, you're not going to pick the best asset out of the 4,000 cryptocurrencies or whatever there is at the moment, but or 2.4 million. However many crypto, you can just see that on the page. But there's so many assets. You're not going to pick the best one, but just pick a few. Learn to read their chart, learn what they do in the past, follow some trends, things like that. And I feel as though at least personally, I get better returns out of a more focused, narrow view, if that makes sense. And last but not least, it's just to continue to evolve. So, we obviously spoke about how, the last couple of years, if you've been in the markets, you've just been seeing awesome gains. You might not be learning that much. You're just seeing green. You're just, you're soaking up all the profits. You're not really, you're not really trying to learn anything. It's a lot easier to learn in the bear market, because you're like, shit, this isn't working. What do I got to do better? But when you're making profits, you might just be like, man, I'm the GOAT. I know what I'm doing. I'm a genius. You're going to start to hear these sort of things come out of people as we near the end of the cycle. Is that, everyone's a genius in a bull market. Everyone's making money. Oh my God, I don't have to change a thing. My strategy is perfect. When in reality, you should be continuously evolving. That's why, this my monthly analysis that I do, I know it doesn't get a lot of views, obviously. Like if I didn't want to watch this, don't want to watch it.
How's it going, guys?
Oh my God. That was when I had long hair. But you can see, like, these videos don't get a lot of views, right? Like they get like 30 or 40 views, but I don't do them, necessarily for the views. What I really find is great about them is that, I go back and I watch them, and I sort of see what I was doing, what I'm doing differently now. Like if we just look, the best example I can give is my sell targets. Down here, I didn't have a lot of, I had, a couple of sell targets, a couple of little price targets, things like that. But I probably only had 2 or 3 sell targets, which I think are really important going into the end of the cycle. Whereas now, we'll make a video on this going into next year, but now I've got 5 or 6 or 7. I haven't written them down, but I know what they are. Different sell targets, right? So this is a strategy that's been constantly evolving. I'm constantly trying to learn what's going to happen next. I sort of take it as it comes. But just continue to learn even when the market's doing great. You can never stop evolving your strategy. This is a strategy. You guys can just go back and look at the channel, right? I've been doing this for the monthly analysis for well over a year. The Twitter for we're coming up on a couple of years now on the Twitter. And I was doing it before I started posting these things. Is that just this strategy has changed so much. And I'll be honest, like I tell people, that the thing that's done really well for me is that I have a strategy and I follow it. And I do have a strategy and I have been following it. But admittedly that, whilst the basis of the strategy is the same, it's something that constantly evolves. It adapts to the market conditions. And you'll see it change as well, going later into the year when I start to take profits, things like that. It's something that's going to have to, sort of mold into the market circumstances. So, it's not necessarily that your strategy is going to be evolving, but you as a trader should be. You should be constantly trying to learn, read books, watch YouTube, whatever it might be. Even though this bull market is going to be really good, very rewarding, you just have to be conservative. Number one, I guess. And with that, it sort of says to me, like, being conservative is being modest, and even though things are doing really good, prepare for the worst and continue to learn. So that is going to do it for the 5 things I learned in 2024. So yes, it's almost 2025. We're so close now. So in summary, it is that Bitcoin is still king, at least early in the cycle, and for longer than I could have expected. That was something that I didn't improve on from last year. So whilst disappointed in myself, I guess, You know, I think I sort of had things on a roll already for the cycle, so something that I'm going to take into next cycle, absolutely, as we reflect back on these sort of videos. In time, you know, look to take profits. You know, if you're in profits, you know, there's no profits that are bad profits. Essentially, just, you know, if you are in profits and you're unsure, look to take some profits. Be conservative with your targets, with, you know, how you trade. Be, you know, and I guess being conservative just means also being modest and just being humbled. You know, that you know, you guys are getting a fantastic opportunity to invest in a new asset that has performed absolutely incredible. So, you know, just, you know, if you have profits, be modest, be content with that. As I sort of said, just don't be outlandish with your expectations of what's going to come. Less is more when it comes to how many tokens you want to invest in. You know, I've really shrunk down the amount of tokens that I invest in. So I guess you could say I did learn a little bit from last year that Bitcoin is better than altcoins, because I've cut down a lot of those altcoins that I was invested in and just moved them into stronger assets, but I was still a little bit too late. But the point is, you know, I only really like investing in 4 or 5 different tokens. You guys might have more time on your hands. You know, you might be able to stretch it out to 6, 7, 8, whatever it might be. But really, you know, just keep it, you know, keep a short list of tokens to invest in and really focus on those tokens. Really follow the chart, find the best time to buy, find the best time to sell. I found that much more rewarding than, you know, sort of like scattered all over the shop with different tokens and trying to, you know, pick them. It's way too hard to follow. Just keep it short, keep it concise, keep it efficient, essentially. And I've found that I get better returns that way. And just continue to evolve. Yes, the market is going to be fantastic. And I reckon next year we're going to look back at this and we're going to say the same thing, where, you know, there's probably not too much to learn from 2025 because the market just went boom. Or maybe it doesn't. You know, that's the other thing, right? It could be a terrible year. You never know. But, you know, just following our cycle and our plan, you know, we expect a good year next year. But just continue to learn throughout that cycle. Especially continue to learn around bear markets, what to do, how to take profits. I think that's going to be really important, but, you know, we're a little bit off there yet. So just, you know, try to keep learning, read, watch YouTube, whatever it might be. So thank you guys all so much for watching. We are sitting at 839 subs. So if you do enjoy this video, feel free. Oh, there's our sub goal. We're going for 1,000, but feel free to hit that subscribe button. We are pushing for 1,000 subs, hopefully, or 900. You know, first and foremost. There are referral codes and things down in the description below. If you are new to crypto or looking for some new exchanges to use, there are some pretty good rewards, but of course, terms and conditions do apply. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.